Sometimes solving problems in FrameMaker requires just a little bit more creativity than it does FrameMaker knowledge. So on the Adobe forums, community.adobe.com, I saw this message about having a FrameMaker document that remembers some of the regular expressions that you can use in the Find Change box. While there's not a direct way to do this within the Find Change feature, we did have a couple of comments and posts from other people, including myself and Rick Quattro. And basically what we did is we came up with, or Rick came up with a suggestion that I added onto. And I figured I'd make a video of this and then share it in my my authoring structured content course and my authoring unstructured content course. So you'd find this video here if you're one of my students. So it's almost easier to make the video than it is to type out all of the contextual things that you've got to do here. But the bottom line is that FrameMaker allows the option to use regular expressions within the Find Change box. So I'll pull this out right here so it's really obvious. So regular expressions right here. Not here to teach you how to use these, but because FrameMaker stores recently used text strings in here, when you're working with the document, it's convenient to go back to this. If you have a different document or you want to reuse text strings, well, then you need a way to grab those. My initial thought was to have a separate document that would contain all of those frequently used text strings. But then here's the twist. I thought if you put this inside of your template, you update your template and then you bring your formats with a template-based design thought process, you'll bring all of those regular expressions over back into all of your documents from which you import the template. So it kind of looks like this. I've got my fourth chapter in my authoring workbook active right here. If I go to view the reference pages, I've got 6 reference pages, the last one being a mini TOC or an MTalk page right here. So that's all we need to know now is we have 6 and it's labeled MTalk for the 6th page. Kind of looks like this. So if I want to add something that I can bring into chapter 4, as well as every other document that uses this template, I would go back to the template, view my reference pages, confirm that I've got 6 pages, and just like the other, I have a 6th page called MTalk. And it's funny because at this point, I expected to be able to go into Format, Page Layout, and add a new reference page. But at some point, and I have to check all of my references and courses, etc., they've moved the new reference page into the Insert menu. So I got to double check when that actually happened, make sure all the books are correct. But adding a reference page is right here under the Insert menu. I'll add a label that I can remember, like RegEx. That's going to give me a 7th page. It's going to be called RegEx. Then I'm going to go to Graphics, Tools, grab my text frame, draw a box, double click inside the box, zoom up so you can see it, and give it an immediate entry. And then you can start putting in all of your strings and then a description of what that string does, because RegEx has its own syntax and it requires a little bit of practice. So sometimes these strings are easy to decipher and sometimes they're very difficult. I'm not going to bother to teach you anything about RegEx right now. This is just an example of using a reference page inside of a template to store resources that I want across my entire platform. So I now have my template updated with a reference page, a 7th reference page. I'm now going to use Control-Tab to go back to my last document. That's my chapter 4. I now have my 6 pages in here, and I should just be able to go straight from here without going to the body pages, File, Import Formats from the template. In this case, just to make it simple, I'm going to only bring in my reference pages. So I'm going to deselect all, choose only reference pages, and then I'm going to hit import. You can see it brought me back into my body pages. That's a little bit different. I'm going to go back to view my reference pages. I now have 7 reference pages. The 7th reference page is here. It's called RegEx, and if I zoom in using my control scroll wheel, then I've got my RegEx strings with hopefully a description of what that thing's going to go. You can use this for anything, not just RegEx, but it's a great way to get commonly used content or text available in a standard way across all your docs. So if you want to know more about FrameMaker, this is where I'm putting this video in techcomtools.teachable.com. So if you're one of my students, you can find this video in the Unstructured FrameMaker authoring course. If you're interested in learning more about FrameMaker and for other videos like this, you can go to courses.techcomtools.com.